Welcome to Eternia Late Night. We have the power. I'm your host AJ, aka Voodoo Magic, aka Zor, and Eternia Late Night is the official offshoot of the Eternia podcast, where we are a little less structured and a little more raw, just featuring real conversations, often over a potential drink, and I got two over here, with no official plan on where it goes and where we land, discussing anything and everything. So tonight I'm solo again, and I figure maybe we'll talk about some of the Motu news that has occurred over the past few weeks that we've reported on 4Eternia.com. And if you're not keeping up with the latest news on 4Eternia.com, you have a problem. Don't tell me you're a stockbroker and you're very successful and it takes a lot of your time and you're a millionaire. Where's your priorities? You need to be checking 4Eternia.com every day for the latest news. I'm just teasing. So let's go through the usual, right? What am I drinking today? I have coffee and I have gin, straight gin. A lot of people actually inquire, why do I drink straight gin and not like gin and tonic? Well, be honest with you, I prefer to drink gin and tonic. Have I told this story before? I don't think so. And it's basically due to the health, my family history in regards to health. So back in the day, that's all I used to drink was gin and tonic. I would go to a bar and go, gin and tonic, please, or go to a club, gin and tonic, please. And at some point, I became a real health nut, one of those annoying health nuts that would always read the labels for everything, whatever I'm consuming, whatever I'm eating or drinking. And, I'd comment to everyone, you guys realize this is like 1,000 calories. I mean, I would spoil everyone's party. Well, so really annoying. So as I was doing this and ruining people's experiences every day, one day I decided to check out tonic water. I never thought too much of what was in tonic water, right? It was clear. It was bubbly. I mean, how bad it could be, But so one day I checked the back of the bottle and I realized that other than some unnecessary carbs, there was this ingredient called quinine. And I'm like, what the heck is quinine? So I decided to Google it. And apparently in tonic water, this ingredient quinine was invented as a medicine to kill parasites in your body. I'm not making it up. It's used, I think, even today to kill malaria parasites, or to kill them, or maybe to at least prevent them from growing, right? So, and quinine apparently is derived from tree bark, like trees from South America and Central America. It might be from some trees in Africa too, if I remember correctly. But it's so this thing was invented as a medicine, tonic, right? And I guess someone discovered that, it had an interesting bitter taste. And they said, gee, why don't we add this medicine to our drink? And lo and behold, you have tonic water, that is used in specialty alcoholic drinks. And it's crazy. So at least when you're drinking gin and tonics, you're fighting your fight against the parasites in your body. But as with any medicine or most medicines, right, there's always side effects, there's always issues. And I learned that with quinine, it can actually be not beneficial for your kidneys. It could do, I guess, damage to your kidneys. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. Let me caveat that. But apparently, if you have kidney problems, they don't recommend you drinking quinine. I guess it could make things worse. And my family, I actually lost 2 family members due to kidney problems. My grandmother, she died of kidney disease. And then my father, he died of kidney disease. It was actually the last thing that finished him off. It's not like it was just just kidney disease. He had heart issues, and then he had open heart surgery where they cut open his, they actually did a circular saw, a small circular saw in surgery, and cut down the middle of his rib cage and open his rib cage and do surgery. And he had this like Frankenstein scar along his chest. And I don't know, it was very scary looking. But yeah, my dad had like 9 lives. And finally, it was kidney disease that took him out. And, you know, yeah, he was on a dialysis machine 3 times a week, and he was just completely miserable. So, because knowing kidney disease is in my family history, I decided to, stop drinking tonic water because it contained quinine and it could make it worse. And then I was looking for substitutes. People were giving me suggestions like, how about you use seltzer and then squeeze a little lime juice? And be honest, nothing measured up. So eventually I just started drinking gin straight, and I acquired a taste for it. And now it's the way I prefer it. Be honest with you, I still have maybe a gin and tonic once a year. If I'm at a wedding and, there's only certain things they serve, I figure, one drink a year can't kill me. But on a regular basis, I've actually stopped. So, so what else is going in my life? Before we get to those Mo2 news. Oh, I saw Furiosa. I think I was the only one. Well, that's not true. I mean, there were like 10 people in the movie theater, but I liked Furiosa, but it wasn't as good as Fury Road, by the way, Mad Max Fury Road, but it's pretty good. But the big thing I walked away with is just there was no one in the theater. And I did read like on the news that apparently really bombed for a big budget movie, for Memorial Day weekend. I think for just the 3 days, not counting Monday, Memorial Day, it made something like 25 million. And then Garfield came right underneath it, like in the number 2 spot, like 24 million or 24.1. It was close behind. And both weren't a terrific performance, especially for Furiosa on Memorial Day weekend. And a lot of people are saying this is like the beginning of the end for cinemas. And you know what? I kind of agree. Be honest with you, I don't think it's the beginning. I think it kind of started after Endgame, or at least with COVID. But I think it's the natural progression of things for movie theaters to end. And because I don't think it really suits the younger generation. I would say the first problem is the younger generation doesn't have their own franchises. They don't have their own movie franchises. I mean, think about it. They have YouTube franchises, right? I mean, their experiences in YouTube and TikTok, and definitely video games, right? And maybe you can incorporate a lot more video games into movies. But in regards to movie franchises, for the young generation, it's all their parents' franchises or their grandparents. I mean, just look at Memorial Day weekend, right? Furiosa, that's from a franchise that started in the 1980s, Mad Max. And then the movie with it, Garfield, that came from a comic strip that I believe originated in the 1980s. Was the artist Jim Davis? Maybe. I'm not sure. Or even if you look before it, right? What came before that? A Planet of the Apes movie, like a couple weeks before. And that originated in the 1960s, I think, from a book. And then the movie was also in the 1960s. It starred Charlton Heston. It's a good movie. Oh, and then before that, Fall Guy. This was a 1980s television series starring Lee Majors, and they made it into a movie. So think about this. All these big films are from old franchises. And so the young generation really doesn't have something they could call their own, something they're certainly not going to feel nostalgia for when they're our age. And I think it's going to contribute to the death of cinemas. And then the other major reason is it doesn't really the young generation is used to having everything at their fingertips, on demand. Like they can watch a movie, they can start it in the morning on their phone, pause it, watch it the middle of it a little later on their tablet, and then pause it, and then maybe watch the end of it, eating a hot dog in bed, on their TV screen that they have in their bedroom late at night. And this is how they can consume movies on their terms. And and then think what the cinema experience is. The cinema experience is anything but, right? You're basically telling them that you could only consume this movie in certain places at certain times. And if you're late, you miss it. And it really doesn't just fit well, it today's younger generation requires versatility, and that whole cinema experience isn't built for them anymore. So I think it's going to fade away. In a way, it's like MTV. Do you guys remember MTV? Or at least everyone in the US around my age does. It was music television, and they would play music videos back when it was really popular, like Madonna music videos and George Michael and Michael Jackson and Bon Jovi and, all these great things. And these videos were events. Sometimes they were big budget events like Michael Jackson's Thriller. And the point was that when you would watch MTV, you would watch hoping that your favorite video would come on, kind of like the way we used to listen to radio. You'd hope your favorite song would come on. So you'd watch these and hope your favorite video would come on. And sometimes you would watch for an hour just waiting for the new, Bon Jovi video to play. And that's not the way people consume music videos today. I mean, I don't even think music videos are in fashion, but if they were, you could just play them on YouTube, watch a little commercial, sometimes no commercial, and then watch that video instantly. There's no more waiting. I remember waiting over an hour for Aha. There was this great music video, Aha, where it was like hand drawn, like this guy and this girl like jumped through like the comic strips and had to escape like this comic strip land. And it was such a great music video, and it won all these awards, and it was a great song too. It was like, take on me, take on me, I'll be gone. Oh, if you're driving and listen to this on Spotify or Amazon, and there's cars next to you, please turn it down. They're gonna look at you funny when they hear this horrible voice. But so it really just isn't a format for today's audiences. So even though I love the movie theater experience, I think it's mostly going to die off the chains. There's still going to be a theater, here and there. And, maybe the way you handle these things or you keep them alive is you make them like events. There's like this. Oh, I know. There was a concert, right? Wasn't there a concert? Who's? I can't, escapes my name. But, for music concerts and sort of like convention like activities, and then maybe some big budget movies, I think some theaters around the country will be able to survive. But overall, I think in the future, everyone's just going to consume their content mostly at home and, not leave their front door, which is a shame. It makes me sad because I do love the movie theater experience, but I do understand that the younger generation is a new generation and it's not for them. All right. Anything else going on? Oh, I got poison oak for the first time. It's like a poison. It comes from a leaf. I guess it's like poison ivy and something like that. I was told by the neighbors that we have some, in the neighborhood. And I was doing some landscaping. I have a front yard and a backyard, and doing some, this time of year you do some landscaping if you have it. Like you lay out some mulch, right? Pull some weeds, mow the lawn. And I was wearing gloves, but my gloves were only went down to my wrist. There are some gloves, and I got to get some that actually go down to your elbow, but I wasn't wearing them. I was wearing them just to my wrist. And I guess my arms were reaching across different leaves, pulling weeds. And I guess this forearm got into contact with poison oak. And the arm, it still looks like scarred and it's peeling now, but it's better now. But it looked horrible. It got red, severely itchy. And it started bubbling up all these blisters, kind of like kind of like I'm gonna start grossing people out, kind of like caviar, fish eggs all over my arm. And then I hope you're not eating because these fish eggs started pussing. Yeah, all these blisters started pussing. All this ooze started coming out. It was disgusting. And I was like, this is fantastic. So I had to put I put antiseptic on it, and then they offer like this ointment that has calamine and zinc, and I put that on for a few weeks, and I almost went to the doctor, but it's better now. So I just hope it doesn't scar. But then again, I have a lot of scars over my body. I'm like those guys in Jaws, showing off their scars. They did that in Lethal Weapon 3 too. But I'm running off a tangent. But that's pretty much what's been going on in my life. All right. So why don't we get to some news, right? All right. So what's in the news? What is the latest Masters of the Universe news that has come out the past couple weeks? The first thing I'd like to talk about is the Blu-ray for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. So everyone remembers the classic cartoon, right? The classic cartoon from Filmation that debuted in 1983 called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, where Play On Pictures just announced that they are releasing a Blu-ray set, Volume 1, containing 5 discs, I think, of the first season of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And this is really cool. You know what? But maybe to go forward, I need to go back. So back in the day, we only had really DVDs of both He-Man and She-Ra. And fans never thought we would get a Blu-ray of these series. And that's because the word was that all of the original film prints, the 16 millimeter broadcast prints and the 35 millimeter special effects prints, the film was destroyed. That's right. When Hallmark had acquired the Filmation library, the story goes that they went ahead and digitized all the episodes for He-Man and She-Ra in standard format, in that DVD quality. They digitized all of it in PAL. And once they did that, they discarded the entire film library, all the 16 millimeter prints, all the 35 millimeter prints, gone, destroyed it. And those are the prints, those are the original sources that someone would go back and remaster a Blu-ray copy from, something in high definition. And without those prints, you really can't do that. So fans for the longest time thought we would never get a Blu-ray for He-Man. We would never get a Blu-ray release for She-Ra. I mean, a true, HD remastering, right? And you know what? And it not only affected He-Man fans as well. I remember there was a big push. Filmation came out with a lot of series other than He-Man and She-Ra, obviously. And one of their series was a Star Trek series, which was really, really cool. I think it came out in the late 70s. And what was really neat about it is their Star Trek cartoon was like a continuation of the original show. Anyone who doesn't know, the original series that aired in the 60s, was it? Star Trek. They talk about in the show, there was always an intro, the 5-year journey, to seek out strange new worlds and new life and new civilizations, Well, unfortunately, that original show only lasted for 3 years. For a 5-year mission, it only made it for 3. It lasted for 3 seasons, and then it was canceled. But as Star Trek started being replayed in syndication, it started getting popular and started accumulating more fans and ever watched it first run on NBC. Was it on NBC? I think so. Desi Lu production. So what happened was that Filmation created a new series that kind of covered those final 2 years. That 5-year mission, you got 3 with the live action show and then 2 with the cartoon. And Gene Roddenberry was behind the whole creation of the show. And what was really cool was the original cast came back. William Shatner voiced Kirk. Leonard Nimoy voiced Spock. DeForest Kelly's voiced McCoy. They all came back. I think all of them did, like Sulu, Uhura. All of the voice talent came back and did this animated series. And then after 2 years, I think the show was over. And I remember watching it when I was young, but it was too heady for me. It was too cerebral. I turned it off. I'm sure I would enjoy it now, but when I was young, like I was just a normal boy. Not too bright. I couldn't keep up with that kind of stuff, just an average boy. So but my point is that there were a lot of fans of that Star Trek series to this date, and they were pushing for Blu-ray as well. They only got a DVD release and they were pushing hard. And so were the He-Man fans saying, hey, we want a Blu-ray of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But apparently, because these prints were destroyed, it looked like we were never going to get it. And it was confirmed by Mill Creek Entertainment. And let me find in our article their exact words. So fans had reached out to Mill Creek in regards to, are we ever going to get like the He-Man series on Blu-ray? We have it on DVD, thank you very much, but will it ever come on Blu-ray? And Mill Creek Entertainment, responsible for making those DVDs at the time, responded, quote, unfortunately, no. We have exhaustively explored this option, but there are no HD elements available for any of the series. The only possibility would be to upconvert the standard definition elements, but the end result would not be a true 1080p high definition quality. So basically what Mill Creek had confirmed is those rumors was true. The stories was true. That Hallmark had indeed tossed out those original 16 millimeter broadcast prints and the 30 millimeter special effect prints. And it's like a dagger to the heart. But still, next thing you know, Play On Pictures, I think it was in 2022, announced this Blu-ray set, called the Eternia Collection. And it had 20 discs. It had the entire He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series. It had the entire She-Ra series, and then had some books inside. I have the set, like supplemental and behind the scenes. Now, it was all in German, so I haven't ever been able to read these books. And even the menus are unfortunately in German because Play On Pictures is a German company. And technically, this wasn't supposed to be imported into the US, but fortunately, the discs were region free. And the episodes you could select all in English, meaning anyone in the US could actually play these discs. So I got a hold of mine and it was great. It was brilliant. It looked great. I think the big guru, Filmation guru, James Etok kind of helped a little behind the scenes. But what we found out was, and even James Etok, I think, talked about this, was that this was actually an upscale. But what a beautiful upscale it was. Meaning they took what Play On Pictures did is they got a hold of the original PAL masters, right? The original PAL SD masters, and then upscale them. They didn't take an original DVD set and upscale those. They went back to the digitized source and upscaled them. So while not a true HD remaster from the original film prints, this did look gorgeous and was the best version of He-Man and She-Ra, that Filmation classic cartoon, on disc to date. And I love it. And everyone else loved it too, because I think the thing really sold out. And now, if you try to even look for it online, I mean, you're paying upwards like $500, $600. I mean, it's so valuable. So it's out of print. You can't get the Eternia collection anymore. And a lot of people are wondering, why don't you just, release these discs again without all the bells and whistles? And Play On Pictures would kind of mum about it. But finally, a couple weeks ago, Play On Pictures announced that they are indeed releasing just the discs. starting with He-Man and Masters of the Universe, Volume 1, assumingly Season 1. It's a 5-disc set, and it's awesome because it's going to give fans another chance to get copies of this best version of He-Man and Masters of the Universe. Fortunately, they do not import into the US, but there's other ways of getting it into the US. There's other companies that kind of uh, well, I'm not going to say work with Play on Pictures, but they well, they'll go ahead and ship it to the US for you for an additional charge. So, and it's not like inflated like eBay or anything like that. So I'm excited. I'm excited that more fans can have this great upscaled version from the original, digitized SD masters, PAL masters. And boy, did they look beautiful. You're going to love it if you're a fan of that show. All right, so what else was in the news? Oh, speaking of that show, let's talk about The Secret of the Sword. As many know, She-Ra is turning 40 next year. She-Ra and the Princess of Power turns 40, just like He-Man has done a few years prior. And if She-Ra's turning 40, you know what that means. Her debut, Secret of the Sword, the actual theatrical released movie, He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword, that came out worldwide in movie theaters, is turning 40 as well. Now, if anyone's not familiar with The Secret of the Sword, it was actually a movie that took, I think, the 5 episodes of the She-Ra series that featured He-Man and sort of edited into one entire movie, and it's very cool. It's probably not the strength of the series, but it's so cool, and it was so neat that you could see He-Man and She-Ra, on the silver screen. So it's turning 40 next March, and we had someone in our community forums, Firefly, that went ahead and said, you know what? Won't it be great if, there's speaking about cinemas dying, well, one way that cinemas are trying to save themselves, they're doing these nostalgic, anniversary events. They did it for Star Trek 3 this year that turned 40, came back to theaters, I think only in the UK, unfortunately. And they recently just did that for Transformers, the animated series, not the movie, but the animated series turned 40. And I think they got like the first 4 episodes together and edited it with like new interviews and stuff like that. And it became a fan event, and they released that in select theaters this past May. And Firefly was like, wouldn't it be great if they do this for The Secret of the Sword? And I'm like, yes, this is a great idea. And a lot of people in our forums agreed. So I went ahead and typed up an article, pretty much making an appeal to the fandom to reach out to, different responsible parties to see if they can make this happen for next year. And this is the perfect time because this requires planning, right? So if we start appealing to these organizations now, they have time to get this all ready for March. So on Eternia.com, and maybe I should share the screen for the YouTube fans here, we added some contact links, and of course, we have to caveat, if you do reach out to these companies, please be respectful and polite, as always. But you could reach out. We left certain contact information for DreamWorks NBC Universal, who I believe officially owns the He-Man and She-Ra Filmation rights. Mattel's official social media accounts. We included Trafalgar. Am I pronouncing that correct? I don't know. But they are, they're like Fathom events, which we included too. They kind of create these like celebratory, limited theatrical events for like Transformers, for like Star Trek 3, anniversary stuff. These are the companies that sort of put these presentations together. So we left contact for them too, so you could reach out to all of these places and say, please, there is a demand out there for He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword, the 40th anniversary, to be, celebrated once again in theaters next year in 2025, hopefully in March 2025, that exactly 40-year mark. And so if you're interested, I want to encourage you to reach out to these companies politely and say, yeah, I want this. And if they hear enough from us, who knows? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe we'll all be in movie theaters, across the world next March watching He-Man and She-Ra, Secret of the Sword on the big screen. Once again, like many of us did as a child. I know I'm going to show my age. I was one of them. Yeah, I got taken to see it. It was cool. I was so excited. But all right, so what else is going on in the news? Oh, I think there's a tiny bit movie news going on. Just a tiny bit. So, we have our E-Man. His name is Nicholas Galitzine, and he was officially announced to be casted as Prince Adam and He-Man in the new live-action Masters of the Universe film coming out from Amazon MGM and Mattel Films in 2026, the summer of 2026, which, like I said in the previous late night, For Eternia Late Night podcast, I believe it's going to happen because of Barbie and because Mattel Films is kind of going the Marvel way, and create their own film studio department. And they're co-funding these films. So I think this film is finally going to happen. And now we have our He-Man. So when Nicholas Galitzine was first announced, I think I was like many of you. I was like, who? So then I had to quickly look him up, and then I realized he was in this movie that I saw a lot of commercials for. It was called The Idea of You. And I think it was just like one of those Netflix Prime movies. And it starred Anne Hathaway. And I remember like seeing those commercials like in the background. I wasn't really paying attention. And it looked like a romance between Anne Hathaway, and she was like in her 40s and she was dating, Nicholas, like in his 20s. And I remember his voice sounding funny. And I was like, oh, that's cool. They put someone in there with a speech impediment. No joke. That's what I thought to myself. And then when I realized it was him, I was like, holy cow, they casted someone with a speech impediment as Prince Adam and He-Man. So I quickly like watched some stuff again, and no, it was low, and I apologize. He does not have a speech. I apologize to everyone in the UK, in Britain. He does not have a speech impediment. He just has a British accent. It's like this thick, low British accent, and he sounds great. But I had no idea who he was. So, and he had this brown hair, and he looked pretty good. I thought I was trying to visualize him as, Prince Adam and He-Man. And then a few days later, we get these great pictures. Well, a few days later, Nicholas goes to this like Hollywood premiere hair and makeup artist named Brady Lee. And Brady Lee like posts all of his like famous clients and I guess some of his non-famous clients, but all of his work on Instagram. And he posted some pictures of his latest, actor in his chair. And lo and behold, it was Nicholas. He had given Nicholas blonde hair. And I saw him in these shots on Instagram. I'm like, wow, he looks great with blonde hair. And now I see it. He looks like Prince Adam. He kind of looks like to me the Prince Adam from the Mike Young series, the 2002 series, the 2000X series, as we call it. I think he looks great with his new hairdo. So after he got his hair color change from this celebrity, makeup artist, hairstylist, after his hair appointment, a photographer from another like entertainment website caught him on the street and took a picture of him. And apparently, Nicholas had indicated that this new hair color was for an upcoming project. Now, we don't know for sure it was for Masters of the Universe, but it could be, right? And I know I realize it's like 2 years away, right? It's supposed to be Masters of the Universe, the theatrical film. I can't speak. It's supposed to be coming out June 5th, 2026. So could he be getting ready this early? It's possible. There's going to be a lot of special effects, right? And he could be doing some costume shots and test shots, and who knows, right? They could be doing two films back to back. And why I say that is, this previous version of Masters of the Universe, when it stalled over at Netflix, they were looking at ways at saving the project, and it was reported on by Hollywood trades like Variety and Hollywood Reporter. I actually reported it thanks to a source like a month before that. But one of the solutions they were looking at was to possibly film two movies back to back, which would actually make each movie cost less. That was going to be one of the solutions. So you have all the actors at the same time. You don't have to like bring the actors back in. You don't have to rebuild the sets. You don't have to like hire a new orchestra. I mean, it can all be done back to back, kind of like the Lord of the Rings movies, right? All three of those Lord of the Rings movies, The Fellowship of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Return of the King, was all filmed back to back. That is the more cost-effective way to do something like that. So is it possible that even though that was supposed to be a solution to lower costs for Netflix, when Netflix was going to do the Masters of the Universe film, and it didn't work out, could they be doing that here in Amazon MGM? Maybe. We'll have to see. Jin. But I think he looks great as a Prince Adam. But you know what? There has been a lot of criticisms. A lot of people have been looking at his body and saying he's not beefy enough. He doesn't have the muscles. He's too scrawny. But come on, guys. It's not the 1980s anymore. I mean, look, I understand in Filmation, you had this muscled Prince Adam and a muscled He-Man, and the only difference was his voice, kind of like Clark Kent to Superman, and his tan, right? Where Prince Adam in the Filmation cartoon, if he ever got like a little tan, if he stayed out in the sun too long and he got a little brown, you have to imagine Tila would eventually figure out, look at him and go, you know what? You look just like He-Man. But otherwise, really, it's not ideal in story purposes. If you're trying to keep your secret as Prince Adam, then you're not He-Man, and you're getting all of this power. You're becoming the most powerful man in the universe. You figure a proper Prince Adam would follow more of the Mike Young 2002 series or the 2021 Masters of the Universe Revelation series, where you have a much smaller Prince Adam that transforms into this huge hulking He-Man, right? Then it's more believable that Prince Adam is able to keep his secret that he's not He-Man. And I think that's really the way to go here in 2024 for a movie coming out in 2026. You don't hire a muscled, busty guy and then put pink clothes on him and say he's Prince Adam and have everyone believe that no one can figure out that it's Prince Adam and He-Man are not one and the same. We have the technology, as they would say in a $6 million Man, that TV series. We have the technology to get this done. So, and we've seen body transformations before done with computers, right? Didn't we see that with Chris Evans, who played Captain America in the first Captain America film called First Avenger, where Chris Evans was built up, and he really got himself in like top shape. He looked like a bodybuilder. He was really built, really jacked. And then they did some computer work to make him look really scrawny in the beginning of the movie. And I get why they did it that way, because you don't want to hire a scrawny person and build them up for the movies, because primarily in that movie, you see Steve Rogers, you see Captain America post muscles, post superheroes, or super soldier serum, right? Only for a little portion of that movie is he that scrawny guy. And with future sequels, he's going to be this big in shape guy. So it makes sense that if you're going to computer generate one version of the character, you computer generate the scrawny Steve Rogers in the beginning of the film. But now when it comes to Prince Adam and He-Man, it makes sense to go the other way. Like He-Man is his superhero form, but he has to conceal. He's not going to be He-Man in the entire movie. This is not the 1987 movie, guys. I mean, this is not where he's just going to be running around like He-Man the entire time. No, he's going to be Prince Adam, and he's going to be keeping his secret from Mom, Queen Marlena, and Dad, King Randor, and he's going to keep his secret from Tila, and he's going to be a Prince Adam, assumingly, a lot in this movie, even on Eternia, a lot in this movie. So it makes sense that if you're going to cast an actor, that you want him to look like Prince Adam, and then you use computers to help generate his body into a believable He-Man. And they could do that in different ways. They could put like computer generated muscles on him, just add to his body, put him in like this like bodysuit, green bodysuit with all these like screen capture dots. I've seen that in special effects behind the scenes stuff. Or you could just get him, a bodybuilder, right? And then deep fake Nicholas's face on the bodybuilder. You've seen that on YouTube, these amazing deep fakes where they take a face of one celebrity and then put it on another. Like I saw Jim Carrey. They took Jim Carrey's face and put it on Jack Nicholson's face in The Shining, and it was totally convincing. If you thought, you'd look at this and you would think, if you didn't know any better, that Jim Carrey was starring in the movie The Shining. It's hilarious. They even put Arnold Schwarzenegger's face on Kate Winslet in Titanic. And they used his voice. It was hilarious. So the technology is there. So people, no need to complain about how scrawny he is, because they have the effects to do it. Because I don't think he's trying out for He-Man here. He's trying out for Prince Adam. And by these pictures with this new hairstyle, with the new hair color, he looks perfect. I think he looks perfect. And from what I hear, he's a very good actor too. I haven't seen any of his films. I got to do some homework. But so far, I'm very pleased with the casting. So if I'm against the majority here, so be it. But it's a different age now. We don't need a Dolph Lundgren to star in this role. We can actually have a true Prince Adam. We have the technology that transforms into a hulking He-Man. We have the technology to do Cringer. We have the technology to do so much. I can't wait for this movie. So I want to thank you for listening to me today ramble on and on about Motu and Poison Oak Engine and just topics that hit my head. And if you enjoy this show, which I hope you do, please show us your support by subscribing to our streams and our channel. Please give us a like and a comment below. And you could also drop me a line as well and send an email to forturnia@gmail.com. I love the feedback. And if you want it read on the air, tell me. I don't mind reading some letters on the air. I think that would be fun. And as always, please visit us at forturnia.com for all the latest updates and news, as well as links to our social media pages like X, Facebook, and Instagram that can help you stay up to date with all of our Masters of the Universe content. So that's it. I would like to thank you all for listening, and let the power return. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.